Mr. Muhonda, are you able to hear me?
Good evening, Kane.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. Apparently, our technology is not being kind.
Okay.
Good evening. Our technology is not being kind. It's doing a number of things that it shouldn't be doing. So we may have to just work as is.
Okay.
How is Zimbabwe?
Zimbabwe is doing well. It's fine. How is Lusaka or Zambia?
Zambia is pretty hot. It's pretty hot. We need it to rain. The temperatures are starting to reach alarming levels. I need to do a bit of housekeeping while we talk as we are getting ready, because I want to share the video also on another platform so that we can bring in another audience to join us in the conversation. Then, unfortunately, the internet is not being very kind, so they will join us at the point that the internet will definitely be kind. Mr. Muhonda, what a pleasure to actually host you on this show that I call Money Chat. Because the main purpose of the show is for us to discuss issues relating to money, so that we follow the money trail. So we discuss various entrepreneurship activities that are happening, from fish farming to soap production. This week, our theme has been the production of soap, and you are right in the middle of the business of soap making and lotions and various other things. So thank you for the opportunity of being able to join us on this live broadcast. First thing I'll ask is, just tell us who Mr. Muhonda is. I know you, but I know the audience is wondering, but why is it that it's the men discussing? So give us a bit of your background.
Thank you very much, Kane. Thank you once again to have me on your platform. Muhonda Sibanda is an engineer by training, born and bred in Zimbabwe, and also having had an opportunity to travel across Africa, many countries, Zambia, Tanzania, Uganda, doing different things. Initially in the telecoms industry, where I spent most of my time rising through the corporate ladder. At the same time, that was the time that I then realized my entrepreneurship prowess. And then every time, wherever I went, I would actually make sure that I had some form of side business to drive my passion as an entrepreneur. You have already spoken of a number of projects that I did that include fish farming. I did chickens. I did wood culture. And ultimately now, I'm here where I am, where I'm doing the most exciting, I would actually say the most exciting, in that it's a business that is already started changing the lives of so many. And as I rose through the corporate ranks, I also started developing certain principles that have helped me as I ushered through my path as an entrepreneur. One of the key principles that has led me to be where I am today is, if you are an entrepreneur, you should not sell a product, neither should you sell a service, but you need to sell a solution. And
Nice.
when you look at Africa, Africa is one continent that has got so many problems of different kinds, different nature, which means then that there are so many solutions that are required. Wherever you go, it could be in town, it could be in the villages, you find that there will be people mingling around that are looking for solutions to their problems. So as entrepreneurs, it's then our duty to identify those problems and then come up with a realistic solutions to the problems. And that is how you start making money. I've heard so many people who say, okay, these days, what is it that is making money? And in our language in Shona, they will always ask, Marare these days, Chichugutipamari, where they're saying, okay, like in Lusaka, what is the project, what project or what product is actually making money for you? But that is not an approach as an entrepreneur. Because obviously, once there is something that is making money, it means then everyone else then is doing that. But what makes money is for one to identify a problem. And I've already mentioned that we've got so many problems in Africa. We don't even need to look elsewhere, but where we are in our neighborhood, we've got so many problems. Once you identify the problem, then come up with not just a solution, but a sustainable and affordable solution. So basically, this is what has led me to be where I am today.
Excellent. How did you, looking at the background, you mentioned, I know this for sure. I saw you doing village chickens. I saw you doing, at some point, aquaculture. You're promoting. If I remember very well, you've done aquaponics as well. At some point, I don't know if you were posting things relating to aquaponics. But then, how do you arrive at goats? And how do you transition from this? Because from what I'm seeing, you started with dealing with what we call raw material. You're dealing with the chicken,
Yes.
but then you went into value addition. How did you pick goats and then eventually get into skincare products?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You rightly pointed out that I was into aquaponics, and for the benefit of our listeners or viewers, aquaponics is it's a model that I developed after realizing that I was doing so many things at a given time. And as I looked at whatever it is that I was doing, I realized there were a lot of synergies. Like, for example, when I was doing fish, at the same time I was doing village chickens, and I was doing horticulture. Then I then realized that there were synergies in all this that I was doing. For instance, you needed manure or chicken manure to feed the fish. And then we would then take the water from the fish pond, because we regularly cleaned our fish ponds. And this water obviously would be rich in nutrients, and then we would then take the water to water the horticulture. And then I would then also take the feed or the process from the horticulture to feed the chicken. So it became a cycle. But obviously, as because of these dependencies, you would actually find out that when one project actually suffered or it had a setback. It had a bearing on the other. So you actually asking me how I ended up doing goats. There was a time that I became the biggest, if not one of the biggest suppliers of village chicks, village eggs in Harare and beyond, in other towns. And it actually meant that every chicken maybe that you actually found in any household around had an origin from my breeds. So these are some of the things that we also learn as you grow as an entrepreneur. This then resulted in what is referred to as inbreeding. Because find that wherever I went, even if I wanted to replace my cocks and so forth, there was always a link to my my breed and so forth. So because of the inbreeding and so forth, eventually the stock started actually going down. And the other thing, obviously, because almost everyone, I tried by all means when I was doing that business to groom and educate so many women, especially widows, because that is simply a business someone can do with little finances and so forth. So most of the people, like women in Harare, especially widows, they were now into chicken, and from this effort. So they started flooding and the price started going down. Then I said, I think I've had enough of this, and I've empowered those that I wanted to. I've done that. So what is it, again, that is unique that I can do? But this time around, I'd already adopted this new philosophy of providing a solution. So I started looking around, say, okay, where are the problems, especially these days? Whereas I was walking around in town in Harare, I could see there were women, especially at hospitals, who could not breastfeed their babies for some reason. But growing up, we had always known goat milk as a remedy to a number of ailments. And one of those, we're told that goat milk was a very rich nutrient. So I just started to say, okay, why can't I actually start rearing dairy goats so that I'll be able to supply mothers that could not feed? So that is how I started. I started with 5 goats. That was September last year. And then I went, I think, for 3 or so months selling goat milk. But obviously, you find that with milk, it's some limitations or constraints in that it's food. So, and there are also some religious factors and so forth, where there were quite a few who understood that the milk could be consumed and so forth. So while I was doing that, I was also busy researching to say what any other remedies that can be covered by this product, by goat milk. That is when I started researching around skincare. And then I realized that this same product would be used to treat various skin conditions like acne, eczema, dry skin, quite a number of these conditions, which are actually prevalent in Africa. And after I actually discovered that, the next thing that I had to do was now to research on the product themselves. And the key product obviously was the soap. And through my basic chemistry, I started playing around with possible ingredients, and obviously one of the basic knowledge that I had in terms of soap making was that there are certain chemicals that when you use or when you mix, there are certain reactions that will then take place. For instance, I knew that if you take something like sodium hydroxide or caustic soda and you mix it with water, and then it generates heat, it becomes hot. And then when you add some oil there, then that oil actually turns into soap and so forth. So I started playing around with those ingredients until something that took me something like 2 or so months until I came up with the first commercially accepted bar of soap. I think that was in March this year. Yeah. And I already had in the neighborhood and also some relatives whose children had that condition or had those conditions. So I gave the products for free to try on their kids. And guess what? Within no time, they'd recovered from the from the conditions. So I then started producing in numbers. And obviously, like I said, my approach initially was to produce this product for medicinal purposes. But obviously, once the market adopts it, they will start, they'll guide you. They'll find the way. So I started getting responses from the mothers, those same mothers whose children I treated. I think while they were using the product, the soap on their children, they also used it on themselves. And then they found out, oh, but this thing actually, instead of just treating eczema and so forth, it actually improved their skins. So they started using the soap. And the next time that they came to buy for their children, they will also buy an additional bar for themselves. And then they say, but how can you just give us soap without lotions? Without lotions. So they put me under pressure for me to research on the lotions, and which I did. I think my first lotion was in what? Was it in April thereabout? But it also took a bit long. Lotion was a bit complicated. Yeah, to actually get the most suitable, because yeah, because of quite a number of other things and so forth. So I'll say I took something like 2 months. I think up to the end of May, if not June. That is when I came up with a product that I would actually say it has been universally accepted. Yeah, while I was doing that, so I kept on getting more demands. Then I introduced the bot lotion, and I then eventually introduced the bot scrub. And then in terms of the soaps, there were also certain demands or requirements from the market as well. Like, for example, there are various skin conditions. So like some, they'll say, okay, we like the soap, but I've got a sensitive skin. It irritates my skin when I'm using it. Is it possible that you can produce something? So I would also work around with my formulas, with my ingredients, and so forth. Then that is when I started coming up with the variants or varieties of soap. Now I think I've got four, 5. Yeah, I will now have a bar for those that have got sensitive skin, a bar for infants, a bar for those that have got skins that peel off and so forth. And we also had some who say, okay, we want to be a bit lighter. Of course, I was also doing that in cognizance of the fact that no, I didn't want anything that would be deemed harmful and so forth. You see, so one of also my tasks was not only researching on providing the products, but also looking at the effects that would come with those products, and also any other substitute. So I would always get into a conversation with these people to say, no, guys, I know you might actually prefer some skin lightening, but what we are doing with these are organic that you have to keep your skin healthy and so forth. So in those dialogues and conversation, then would also then come together, I mean, with input from the customers to come up with an appropriate product. So in brief, that is how we started this business to be where we are today.
Amazing. And I looked at your line of products and I was really impressed. Can you just run us through the exact line of products that you're selling that actually made out of goat milk? I want you to tell me how you achieved these blends. Someone laughed when I used when someone used the word flavor. So since it's cosmetic, it's not food. I saw a turmeric soap among the brands you have. So run us through yes.
Okay, like I said earlier on, that these variants or varieties of soaps came as a result of requests from the users due to their different requirements, due to their different skin types, skin requirements, and so forth. Now, for example, when I started, we had just a basic soap, which we refer to as a standard soap. Okay, because I'll run down through the list of the products, and then within those products, then we have got these variants that I'm going to talk about. So basically, we have got the soap. That is our anchor product. I would actually say it's an anchor product because probably it allows minimum of 3 batches to get the product to at least 1 hour to the safe in the skin conditions. You can still do that with the soap. So after the soap, then we have got what we call body creams, and then we have got the lotion for the face. And a distinction between those two, I've always had this question to say, but why should you? To us, it's more or less the same product. What we found out was skins. We've got different types of skins. Like for example, there are some we've got oily skins, some have got dry skin, and we can have one person with the 2 different types of skins, where maybe one has got an oily face and then a dry body skin. So it's not advisable that you have one size fits it all, where we're going to say we are going to have this lotion to apply because it has got milk, but we need to have a product which is appropriate for a given skin type. So we introduce the lotion for those that have got oily skin. And the distinction obviously is on the ingredients. The lotion has got more goat milk and less oils. And also on the types of the oil that we actually use, the lotion have got more absorbable or quickly absorbable oils. Then in the cream, like I said, the cream is designed for those with dry skin. We then applied more oils and less goat milk. And I would actually equate to the cream that we have already in the market, which are usually used in the cold or during the cold season. So the cream is then recommended for the body and those that have got dry skin. So that is the distinction, which is very, very important to our viewers and our customers to understand that whenever they're buying, because we've had issues where Israel, our distributors, they interface and interact with our customers. They also need to recommend the appropriate product to the customer. Then there was another demand. Of course, there have been so many demands that have been coming from the market, but we have also been a bit pragmatic in terms of our approach. So there are certain products that will say, okay, not now, we'll do that in future and so forth. So the next product that we then, based on the pressure that we're getting, is the scrub. So the scrub, we're looking at, I'm not sure is it out of fashion or out of the really need, but there are users who would always want to regularly exfoliate their skins or their face and so forth. So it's recommended that probably twice, 3 or 4 times a week, they do exfoliate. And what they use to do that is the scrub. So we introduced a goat milk scrub. It's one of the most preferred, I think, of our products. Customers are running for the product, and they like it so much. And it's the newest amongst our product. And then going back to the soaps, now we are now looking at the variants of varieties within the soap, which I say that they were also driven by the demand from the market or from the users. We started with the standard soap. The standard soap is just the most basic one, which has got goat milk and some organic oils. Yeah, organic oils that include things like coconut oil and palm oil, olive oil. And by the way, these ingredients, they are not a secret. They are not even an intellectual property because it's a requirement. Yeah, it's actually a requirement for our customers to know what is that they are using. Yeah, because it actually applies to their health and so forth. So having introduced the standard soap, with time, like I said, we then started having requests from other users. Like, for example, there are some who say, no, they have very sensitive skins. And we're also looking at infants, 1 week old, 2 day old, who probably are born with eczema, but they still want to use the product. So yeah, it was actually found that our standard was a bit harsh and irritating. That is when we then introduced a second variety, which is the baby and sensitive skin. And we also then had some requests. We also had customers whose skin conditions or eczema conditions had deteriorated to an extent that some of the skins we had started peeling off. So to start with, they needed something that would help to actually remove those layers of peeling off skin and so forth. So we introduced another variety called oatmeal and honey. So what we will just be doing is to take our standard bar and then add some ingredients for a specific purpose. So like in this particular case, we just added the honey and then the oats into the standard bar to give us an oatmeal and honey. And then last but not least, we also started having requirements from certain users who would come and say, okay, they've got some bit of itching on their skin, and maybe they've got some infection, and others, obviously, our products, they will result in brighter and glowing skin, but some actually wanted to be more brighter, I would say that. So we're also looking around to say, okay, what are the organic products that we can also use to enhance their brightness without being harmful? So we identified products like turmeric. So that is how the turmeric soap actually came in. So it's designed for the users who would actually want to be brighter and also with some itching skin. And because of this property of making it actually more brighter, it is also essential to those that have got dark spots in certain areas. So it's quicker. Other soaps will do that, but obviously at a slower rate as compared to the turmeric soap.
Okay. Now, with what you're describing, are we seeing a fully mechanized process plant, or you still using manual processes? Just run us through what kind of how big is your industry? Because I mean your factory. Because from what you're explaining, you sound like I can imagine what I've seen happen in places like Asia, where a whole entire floor is, used to make soap, and someone is literally standing on it when it's perfect as cured, and they're manually cutting the bars and then grinding them. So, what kind of setup are we looking to have to achieve all
Yeah,
this?
okay. Maybe what I can highlight is that we are actually multitasking in this whole process, where I think there's one development that I forgot to mention when we started this business. We were ushering the market into unknown waters. We're introducing a product that was actually never known within our communities. It could be in Zimbabwe, it could be in that. Yeah, we used to have goat milk coming from Asia and so forth, but not at the proportions that it is now. So what we then did, we took a deliberate decision to go out there and start educating customers, starting from scratch. Where even today we have got so many of the mothers who do not even know what eczema is. They don't even know. They will simply say, my kid is scratching. my kid has got this condition and so forth. So we started from scratch to start educating mothers and even users to say, no, there are these conditions, skin conditions that we have in our midst, but we have got a solution that we have brought. And this solution works like this. It's actually a solution which we have amongst ourselves. Obviously, gods, we all have the gods and so forth. So it took a bit of time to educate the customers to a point where we engaged in various customer engagement activities that included distributing flyers, driving out in town with labeled vehicles, and going to some crowded places, going to hospitals. It's a process that I think it actually, remember I said it started in September. So from November, I think up to March, which is probably 5 or so months, we actually used that time to educate the market. We use to a large extent the social media. The social media, I would actually credit it for the successes that we have registered so far. I'm just now trying to answer to discuss the processes that we have engaged into. So because of this process of educating customers and we also were a bit cautious in terms of our production, where we're also trying to control the output. We try to control the output. And I would actually safely say, I think to date, we have sold plus or minus 10,000 bars of soap. Yeah, and most of it, I think, it's actually from August. But before then, it was just a trickle. So we actually use the manual process. Why? Because we're also trying to control the market. While we're still educating the market, because we're also trying to avoid pushing the production to a level maybe that could not be sustainable or that could not be absorbed by the market. So we're trying to balance the two. And even up to now, our processes, they are still manual for all the products that we do.
I'm excited to hear that because, like you said, ingredients of making soap are not, they're not a secret. It's a requirement you have to share. You know, there will either be an oil or fatty, some fat that will be used, and you know that there will be sodium hydroxide. And like you were saying, it now comes down to the whole journey you're explaining. How do you then make this to work for which particular skin? So you can't really have one soap for everyone. You can't have one soap for everyone. You have to now make different products that fit different skins, because others have sensitive skins, others have normal skins, with very oily skins. So there are all these things that you now have to address as you making your product. Is this soap, your products, are they available in Zambia? Because we're excited to hear about what you've achieved. Are they available in Zambia? And one of the reasons having this conversation is the point that I'll be bringing up opportunity.
I think for my introductory note, I mentioned that these problems that we encounter in our communities, they are universal. And especially when you look at a market like Zambia and Zimbabwe, South Africa, we actually won. Before we even started thinking of coming into Zambia, already calls and inquiries started coming from Zambia. We also have people who have got relatives either side of the border. They also started recommending the product to their relatives. And unfortunately, I was left. So fortunately, I was left with no choice but to ensure that I be on the ground. So I took a tour last month, I think 4 weeks ago to be precise. Unfortunately, that tour just took me to Lusaka, where apparently I realized that the same questions the same request, the same requirement that I experienced in Zimbabwe, Harare, Bulawayo, were exactly the same that I actually got in Lusaka. And I carried with me a sizable batch of the product, which apparently my mission was not go to sell, but also to go introduce the product, to hear their problems, their issues, how they expect us to work together, and so forth. So I would actually say what is in Zambia currently are samples. So they are in a sizable batch. And yeah. And then the other thing, which I also probably forgot to mention, in all these things that I'm doing, I'm not only focusing on the consumers or on the users. As it has always been the trend, I always make sure that whatever it is that I do, I empower those that require to be empowered. And this time around, the ladies, the young girls. And we are then saying this is an opportunity for them to make money. I also then forgot to mention that while I was doing my research, I also discovered that there's someone who's running a similar business in Europe right now, an old lady whose turnover right now per year is £5 million.
Wow.
Then I say to myself, if someone can make £5 million in the UK, what more of Africa, where I continue repeating that we've got more problems. We have got more problems than there. So if someone can make that much money. So my call to the ladies that I'm working with as distributors is to say, guys, don't you want to be part of the $5 million that this woman has really made? I think to me it's an opportunity. And it's an opportunity that does not only start and end at the supplying or reselling of the product. When you look at the ingredients that we talked about, most of these ingredients, they are actually imported. Ken, but you'll actually be surprised that one of the key oils is an oil that we produce in Zambia and in Zimbabwe, castor oil. But we are going to where we go and import. So it's an opportunity not only for ladies, and even I've already shared this with my colleagues. We have got farms here in Zimbabwe to say you guys are always crying that you did not benefit anything, you didn't get anything because probably your maize did not pay you well. But we have got these oils. And at full throttle, probably I'm talking of what? Of something like 5 or so tons per month of these oils that we want to use. So there are opportunities, so many opportunities in various areas. We have got oils, we have got aloe vera, we have got all different oils that we can produce in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, in South Africa. So yeah, so my mission when I came to Zambia was not only to introduce the product, but was also trying to engage those who can see opportunities and who want to be part and parcel of this success factor, and say, okay, how do I become part of this 10 million, probably by the end of next year, if ever that happens.
Okay, now, very interesting. I'm very excited to hear what you said, and it's very clear now. Look, we had Engineer Bennett Swala 2 weeks ago, who's making castor oil in Lusaka. So you're very right.
Okay.
And that's one of the main ingredients. Now, how much are we looking at for women to start up, or a small business to start up, by ordering your products and reselling them? In terms of profit margin, I think that is subject to whatever solution they they will get in the area of operation where they are. But how much are we looking at for, what are people coming with when they want to start being distributors and agents?
Okay. You see that there were also certain considerations that we came up with. Where now, when you're now looking at this business, it's a business that has got so many stakeholders now, where we have got consumers, we have got the distributors, we have got ourselves probably as producers, and whatever decision that we make in terms of it could be pricing, in terms of what it has to take into consideration the interests of those. So what we had actually done when we were setting up this distribution model was to set up the minimum number or the minimum quantities of each product, which we actually set up at 10. And when you look, okay, probably for now I'll talk in terms of the Zimbabwean dollars and probably kwacha, probably where it applies. Now, when you're in Zimbabwe, we say that the minimum that you would actually have is $35 for 10 bars of soap. And if it's in kwacha, I think it's supposed to be 65 kwacha per bar, which is 10 times 650. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, around that, 650 kwacha. But what we then found out, like I'm saying, that it also brings other stakeholders. So while we set up a minimum for specific products, then as the market evolved, we found out that customers, they are no longer just intending to buy the soap. They want much more. They now want what we call a combo, where they'll say, okay, I want the soap, I want the lotion, I want the cream, isn't it? Then we found out that, okay, for someone who is a startup, want to start, how it will be very difficult to raise 10 products of each, isn't it? Because here we are looking at roughly, I think we've got six main products when we're not looking at the soap varieties. So which actually means then that on the average, let's say the minimum of 10 is $50. So it would mean 50 times what? 50 times 6, which means then someone would have to fork out $300, $300. So we found that that would then be excluding the people that we wanted to cover, especially the young girls and so forth. They won't be able to raise such an amount. So what we have then done as an alternative, we introduced what we call a wholesale combo. A wholesale combo is now reduced the minimums of these products to at least 6. And it has also discounted those products. So a combo goes for $120 US, which obviously when applied by I think 17, 18, that will give us the kwacha. So what we are then saying is one can choose to come and buy just one product, which is the soap, at 650 kwacha. But the downside of doing that is that customers no longer want to deal with so many suppliers. So they would prefer someone who has got everything. So it's rather better that you then go for this other combo of 120. So depending on how much one can raise, you can probably, if you've got your customer that you can convince to come and buy the soap alone, then it's okay. Then you start up with $35 or 650 kwacha. But if we find that the market is now mature enough, where they want everything, then you can then go for the combo, which is 120. So basically, these are amounts that one has to look at.
Okay. Mr. Muhonda, I think I've managed to hold you for quite some time. We've had like 40 minutes of conversation. I think this is a conversation we should also pick up at some point again. So I think I'll let you go at this point. Anyone who wants to become a supplier, retailer, will put the details on the Instagram Insights page. They can get more information from there. Otherwise, I may have
Hello. Hello, Ken.
to go at this conversation.
Hello.
You can actually see. Hello.
Hello. Yes, I can hear you
Yeah.
now.
So the advert is available on the Kensington Anglo page. But at this point, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Muhonda, for having given time. I trust your expertise. I think now we have a chance to actually do something that can help, that has a mutual benefit. In my experience of cosmetics, there's a word that women now use, combo. So when you use
Yes,
combo,
yeah,
actually,
that is the
that's
buzzword. Yes, 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 yes.
combo. So thank you very much, Mr. Monda. Let me not take too much of your time. I think we'll probably have more engagements now that we're going to open the door for more Zambians to buy this product and also become agents and distributors. So without further ado, any last words?
Oh, thank you very much. Except that we view these people that we work with, the distributors, the customers, as partners in business. Like I said earlier, we are providing a solution where we have got continuous engagement. So what we would also do is to, once they become distributors, we work together in marketing on their behalf, in educating customers, where even if somebody is a distributor and then he thinks that it's appropriate for us to go there, to even to visit Lusaka or another, to come and start talking to customers, we are actually prepared to do that, because we are saying that it's a long journey that we have to actually work together as a team.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Monda. At this point, I'll have to end the broadcast. Okay, otherwise it's been
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. I know you and I will have more of these conversations, at least maybe one or
Thank
two
you.
in a month, just to help us
Okay.
understand where we're going. We need to tap into the $5 million that you've shared.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm excited. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you
Mr.
very much.
Monte.
All right.
Okay.